Christianity is going to the voting booth and making a selection.
Welcome to The Voice, and thank you for joining us tonight. As you know, we've been interviewing candidates each week so that you can meet some of the people that North Carolina Values would like for you to consider during the election in November. And tonight it is my special honor to have a good friend and former legislator who's running again for his old seat, Bill Brawley. So, Bill, welcome to the show. And
thank you, Tam.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the social distancing too, so I can take off my mask.
Yes.
People frequently accuse me of looking like a bounty hunter from Star Wars.
Well, I was thinking that myself, Bill. Mm-hmm. But I know that you've served in the legislature and had a very great record when you were in the legislature before. And so I just wanted to ask you about some of the things that you sponsored, the bills you sponsored, that you're proud of. What do you want to tell the voters that you're running on your record? And so tell them what you're proud that you did.
Well, I think the biggest one was we did a reorganization of the funding of transportation. Mm-hmm. And here in Mecklenburg County, we've got roads all over the place that previously had been unfunded. Right out here, US 74 was first proposed in 1966. It has now received funding and may actually be completed in this decade.
Hallelujah.
Which is a long time, and the money has been retasked several times. There were some other things that I had done with the changes to the tax laws. One of the things that I got involved in, of which I took a great deal of pride, was human trafficking. Mm. Now, as you know, well, I was a finance guy, a reg reform guy, a transportation guy. That was where I concentrated. You know, I tend to vote pro-life, pro-family, but I don't sponsor and I don't debate them because that's not my expertise. I had several groups of women who would come in to visit in the fall of 2016, ask for my support. I was fine. I'll support you, Bill. The last group, there was something that was just wrong. And I finally said, okay, who's going to sponsor your bill? And they really didn't have a good, strong sponsor. Now, I had one of those moments. And I tell my secular friends, it's like Robert Kennedy. If not now, when? If not me, who? From my Christian fellow believers, it's Isaiah. And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Who will speak for us? And I said, Lord, here am I, send me. I filed a bill, human trafficking, rescue and rehabilitation. We got it out of the House. We could not get it out of the Senate. We could not get enough funding. But as we wound up the session, I was able to take another bill that had come over from the Senate and retask it to make changes. And I was able to get some money in the budget.
$1 million.
$1.5 million to rescue women who were, or to help fund the rescue of women that were coming out of human trafficking. The changes I was able to make to the law just show you how much attention this problem needs. The first change was to make being trafficked an affirmative defense against prostitution. Free will was not an issue in the crime. Sex and money, even if you were forced, was enough to convict a woman of prostitution. We changed that. If you're forced, you're not a willing participant, you're not a criminal. We also made it possible for women to sue for damages and lost wages for having been trafficked. Most important of all, in North Carolina, if a child, a minor, was sold for sex by someone other than a parent or legal guardian, they were not considered an abused child and were not eligible for social services after. No rehabilitation, no counseling. So we've changed that. If a child is sold for sex, that child is considered abused. Some of the other work that I was able to do...
Well, let me just say, thank you for that, Bill, because that was amazing. Those changes needed to be made decades ago, and you were wise enough to realize that the law needed to be changed and to lead on that issue. And I just want to thank you for the women and children that are being trafficked in our state, because it was a great improvement.
Well, thank you for that. Though I'll have to admit, I feel like I got all the thanks more than I really deserved. One, the Concerned Women for America made me an honorary member. I'm the only man in North Carolina that's a Concerned Woman for America. And I also got Legislator of the Year from the Human Trafficking Commission.
That's wonderful. Great. Oh, I interrupted you. You were going to say some other things you were proud of.
There was another thing we were working on, and the district attorney brought me this. We have a lot of violence here in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I realized after the DA explained it to me, if a felon in Mecklenburg County is convicted of carrying a concealed handgun at trial, they get a 60-day suspended sentence and a year's probation, which is to say, no punishment. Felons don't plead to that. So a felon convicted or is arrested for carrying a concealed handgun, they seize the gun, they're back on the street the next day. Felons are carrying guns where no one else legally can.
That's just amazing.
It's incredible. And
yeah.
There were over 100 deaths last year in the city of Charlotte. 70% of those were committed by felons who were illegally carrying handguns.
Wow.
Then that led to the second thing I've discovered, and this is something we need to handle when we go back. Right now, most criminals do not post a bond in Mecklenburg County. They sign a written promise to appear. It's like a traffic ticket, and then they're released. We have instances here in Mecklenburg, in fact, even in Mint Hill,
mm-hmm.
where people have attacked violently or assaulted someone sexually, have been released without posting a bond and gone back and continued the assault, or in one case actually killed the intended victim. Recently, a judge, Michael Staddy, required a $100,000 bond on an individual charged with felony death by vehicle. Had run over, let me redo that. A local district court judge, Michael Staddy, required a $100,000 bond on an individual charged with felony death by vehicle. This person had hit a cyclist, left them injured in the road where they bled to death, hid the car, and was arrested 30 days later. When the car was located, the blood of the victim was still on it. Being charged with felony death by vehicle, they were given a written promise to appear, which they signed, and were released and allowed to go home. Judge Staddy, thinking that someone had hidden for 30 days, was probably a flight risk and should post a bond. For this, he has been punished. He is no longer in appearance court. He does domestic protective orders, which unfortunately are really not enforceable, because if you violate one, you're supposed to be 3 days in jail cooling off.
This is a travesty, Bill. And so I assume that this is something that you want to address when you are elected to the seat again.
We have to address this. There are criminals in society. The severity of punishment is not nearly as important as the certainty of punishment. But what you tolerate, you cannot change. If someone carries a gun and gets a slap on the wrist, they're going to continue to do it. Someone commits an assault and is on the street before the officer can even return to the station, there is no reason for them not to do it. The people of Charlotte, Matthews, Mint Hill, all of Mecklenburg County deserve to be safe and protected by a police force that is well trained, well equipped, well managed, so that there are no abuses, but enforce the law fairly to protect all citizens.
Now, Bill, you ran against Rachel Hunt 2 years ago. She is the daughter of Jim Hunt, the former Democrat governor of North Carolina. He's kind of like the boss hog of the Democrat Party right now. And she won the election just barely. And I know that there were some questions about some absentee ballot that came in and that weren't properly submitted. And there were probably enough to have overturned the election, but they were found so late in the process that it was just too late. So tell me about how the election was stolen from you last time.
Well, your words. I had won by 58 votes on election day. There were a team of lawyers from the Democratic Party that showed up on Wednesday and wanted to see every disallowed ballot, every disallowed provisional ballot, and then late ballots were coming in. There were 305 ballots that were added to the tally within the next 10 days. And that did change it from a 58 vote victory on election day to 68 votes, I think 2 weeks later. There were, from my understanding, and I think you saw some of this as well.
We did an operation. We went into the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections and reviewed ballots in your election specifically. And found over 300 absentee ballots that weren't correctly sent in. They were not lawful ballots.
And from what I understand, the Board of Elections, the State Board of Elections, said that these violations should be considered clerical errors. Well, my sense was the law was very specific that would cause them not to be counted.
Exactly.
Having said that, the one that most got my attention was the story that Mark Garrison on WBT Radio did about Cara Biasucci. Cara had moved out of Matthews in 2013, gone to college. Her parents had sold the house where she lived. She requested an absentee ballot for the 2018 election and said on her application that she hadn't lived in North Carolina since 2013 and didn't check the attestation, but she maintained legal residence. She was given a ballot. She executed it. It was counted. In fact, she continued to be registered for almost a year. Now, interestingly enough, Mark Garrison with WBT Radio got a reporter from their sister station, WINS, in New York, who interviewed Ms. Biasucci and who said on the air that she had not been in the state of North Carolina for 5 years.
Yes.
But was voting because she wanted to vote for Democrats and intended to continue to do that as long as they let her vote.
And the State Board of Elections sent her a ballot. That's actually one of the ballots that we flagged in our review of the ballot. So it's an amazing, frustrating, terrible story about abuse of the absentee balloting system. And that ballot should never have been mailed by the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections.
Well, one of the things that did come out that many people have ignored, I know that you tried to file a challenge and were not allowed to do so.
Right.
We had looked at filing a challenge, but there's a 10-day clock on that, and it had passed. The amount of legal power that it would have taken to challenge that on new information and actually compel the State Board of Elections to review those ballots, which they did not do, was it was an insurmountable obstacle. But it was my election stolen? I don't know that it was stolen. I will say that I'm wanting to make sure that there's a big enough margin this time that there's no doubt.
I agree with you. I think that's the way to put these questions to rest, is just to win by a bigger margin so that we're not fighting with the Board of Elections and people who have exercised a right to vote from New York. So hopefully we won't have any people voting from New York in our elections this time.
Well, there are some flags, and I will tell you, my oldest daughter, the one of whom I had custody as a single dad for 6 years, moved to Florida in the 2000s. In 2016, she moved to Malta. She and her husband have been living in Capri and are getting ready to move over to Albania for a while. She has received 5 pre-filled voter registration forms from a group in Raleigh.
Wow.
Writing her a letter. We know you're associated with this address. They have all of her information except her birthday, and ask her to put in her birthday, sign it, and send it in and register to vote.
That's amazing. So they don't even have the correct address for her, but they're sending her a pre-populated ballot that all she has to do is put her birthday, sign it, and mail it.
And then she's good to go.
And she could have done it 5 times because she's gotten 5 of these, right?
Well, I would hope they wouldn't accept duplicate registrations.
Too.
But it is worth pointing out there's a lawsuit by the Voter Integrity Project that lists 17 counties in the United States where there is a severe risk of voter fraud. Mecklenburg and Wake are 2 of those counties. And the reason being the voter rules There is a lawsuit underway now by the Voter Integrity Project where 17 counties in the United States are being contested for potential voter fraud. Wake and Mecklenburg are two of those counties. The issue is the voter rolls are not kept current, and the number of people who have moved out of state and are still actively on voter rolls, like Cara Biasucci, creates an opportunity for a significant amount of voter fraud, and it needs to be addressed.
It certainly does, yes. And it's scary, less than 60 days out from an election. So we just hope you get enough votes to win it outright this time and not have to fight. So I wanted to ask you about your opponent, Rachel Hunt. She's been in the seat for 2 years, and from what I can tell, she's voted straight down the line with the most liberal, extreme portion of her party. She's also endorsed by a number of ultra-liberal groups in this election. I'm just going to read some of them to our viewing audience because I think you'll be shocked. So Rachel Hunt's been endorsed by the Sierra Club, the Conservation Pact, two groups that are intended to turn red states blue like they did to Virginia. She's been endorsed by Planned Parenthood, Emily's List, Lillian's List. Those are all the big pro-abortion PACs. She was endorsed by the Equality North Carolina. That's the big LGBT activist group in North Carolina. She's been endorsed by OCMAE, which I assume is the Teachers PAC here in Mecklenburg County, as well as the NCAE. And so, and finally by an anti-gun group called Brady PAC. So you can tell a lot about what a person intends to do in office and what they will vote for by the groups that are supporting them. So I think we can conclude from that she's anti-gun, she's pro-abortion, she's pro-LGBT, she's really intended to help turn North Carolina blue. And so it's very important that you win this seat back this time. You're one of the swing seats in the state, as I understand it. And so not just for the people in Mecklenburg County, but for people all over the state, you can add to the majority in the House. You can add back a seat that was taken last time. And so talk about how important it is to hold the majority in the General Assembly.
If we lose the majority, the Republican Party loses majority in the House, the Democrats will draw the districts. Now, I've never actually run in a Republican district. There were 2 years I had a Republican district. Those were overturned by courts and were redrawn by either Democrat consultants, and the latest map I'm running in was drawn by the 12 Democrats in the North Carolina House. Remember that after the coup d'etat in Wilmington in 1898, where Democrats killed 40 people and overthrew an elected government, including Republicans and members of the Fusion Party, the Democrats ruled North Carolina as a one-party state for 112 years. There was not a Senate majority until 2011. There was not a Senate and a House majority until 2014. The Democrats controlled North Carolina as a one-party state for 30 years longer than the Communist Party controlled the Soviet Union. If we lose control, we could look forward to Democrats in complete control of North Carolina as a one-party government system for decades. What will this mean? The tax cuts will be reversed. Charter schools will be eliminated. Opportunity scholarship will be eliminated. There will be restrictions on religious schools. Children will be required, in most cases, unless you can completely pay for it yourself, to attend public schools where parents will have no say over what their children are taught. These are important differences in education alone, in taxation alone, simply because the United States was based on people having the right to manage their own lives. The First Amendment, first, most important, gave freedom of religion and freedom of speech co-equally. What you think is your business. What you believe is your business. And what you teach your children is your business. And to lose that is to lose the essence of America.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Bill. That's wonderful. And I hope that you win this seat. I know you've got a lot of support in Charlotte, and I know you have a lot of support around the state. And I just wanted to tell our viewers tonight that on behalf of the North Carolina Values Coalition, we wholeheartedly endorse you, Bill Brawley, and we hope you win this seat back, and we wish you well.
Well, thank you, Tammy. If anybody wants additional information, the website, www.Brawley for NC House. It's all spelled out. And I would also ask if people are willing to donate. I've looked at my opponent's campaign reports. There's actually a group in Seattle called Mecklenburg Victory Fund.
Wow.
People all over the country are coming into North Carolina to flip this house, and anyone in the state that would be willing to help, I would appreciate your support.
So I want to thank Bill for being here with us today, and we sure appreciate hearing about your candidacy and what you hope to accomplish when you're reelected to the North Carolina House. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. I hope you enjoyed meeting Bill Brawley, who's the former representative in House District 103, which is located in the heart of Charlotte. This year, he's running to get back his old seat, which was lost last year to former Governor Jim Hunt's daughter, Rachel Hunt, and Bill is running to regain this seat in the House of Representatives. Bill is a special man, and we wish him well in that race. And when you go to vote this fall, especially if you live in House District 103 in Charlotte and Matthews and Mint Hill, I hope you'll remember to vote for Bill Brawley. Now, I want to tell you about something very exciting. In a couple of weeks, we are going to host our very special event that we have every year called the Celebration of Carolina Values. This is an event that we hold in order to help us fund the vision and mission of the North Carolina Values Coalition. And of course, you know we exist to create coalitions so that we can advance the values of life, marriage and family, and religious freedom, both through political elections and through public policy. So if you will join us on October the 8th at 7:30 p.m., you'll have the opportunity to watch a very special woman, Gianna Jessen, who is an abortion survivor. She actually survived an attempted abortion, and she's going to tell her story about her life, but she's also going to talk about Governor Cooper's veto of the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act last year. Gianna was here for a rally just a few days before the veto of that bill, and a few days before the House was unable to override the veto of that bill. And she's going to talk about how she felt as a survivor of an abortion, how it discredits her story, her very existence. And so I hope you'll join us that night, October the 8th at 7:30 p.m. Now, we are charging a small admission fee to get into this event virtually. The event will be held online, and we'll broadcast it across the state. You know, we were supposed to hold this event at the Angus Barn in Raleigh, but because of COVID, we've decided to do it virtually, which gives us the opportunity to provide it to everyone across the state of North Carolina. So I hope you'll take advantage of this wonderful opportunity by joining us. You can go to our website, ncvalues.org/celebration, and buy your ticket for the small price of $20.20. That's $20.20. And I hope you get the pun there, because we are raising funds to help us with our 2020 election plan, which is in full force right now. And we're really working hard to make sure that we win the election and get people who share our biblical values elected this fall. Now, in addition to Gianna Jessen that night, we'll have Congressman Mark Walker, who represents the 6th District in Greensboro. And he'll be here as our special guest and MC, and I know you'll enjoy hearing from Mark. It will be a fun time. If you would like to host an event at your home, like a house party, we would be happy for you to invite your friends and your family over to watch the event on television with you. And we'll even send dinner to your front door so you can feed your guests that night. This is a great opportunity to introduce new people to the North Carolina Values Coalition so that we can grow this coalition of biblically minded conservative Christians across the state. I encourage you to go to ncvalues.org/celebration and sign up to get your tickets and sign up to be a house party host. We are so excited about this new opportunity, and because of COVID, we've been given the opportunity to be a little bit creative. It won't be quite as fun, I think, as being in a ballroom with a bunch of your friends, but you can have your very best friends and family over into your living room. You could also do it in your backyard. We set up a projector in our backyard this summer and held sort of like a drive-in movie with our family. I think it would be a fun thing to do for this event. And October the 8th, we should have really wonderful weather. So we're hoping that you'll join us October the 8th at 7:30 p.m. for our celebration of Carolina Values. And again, you can go to our website, ncvalues.org/celebration, to buy your ticket and sign up. And I want to thank our audience for joining us. And if you want to go back and look at past episodes of The Voice, you can see them on our website at ncvalues.org. Thank you and good night.
Which of these issues do you care about? What if you could influence how they were legislated? What if you could impact the outcome of the next election? What if you could change the course of America?